Now that we have Revit loaded, let's figure out how to create some walls. So we're going to go over here to wall. And first thing I want you to note is that anytime you select one of those items up there, you usually will have this green bar here. This gives you a lot of additional information. And in this situation, it tells you that it is a height unconnected 20-foot tall wall. That is really tall. We don't want it that tall based off of our design specs. Which we have right here. Our design specs say that the wall should be 8 feet tall. So let's change this to 8 feet. 8 feet. There we go. We want a location line to be center line. And I want this to be, according to design specs, I want this to be a 12-foot by 16-foot overall dimension. So I'm going to click the rectangle thing right here. We're in Modify Place Wall. Click the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to click and drag. And you can see that's a little large, but that's okay for now. I'm going to zoom in using the scroll wheel and then hit modify. I want you to also notice that when I hover over modify, there's a keyboard shortcut MD. Let me do it again. You see MD. So if I click on a wall and maybe if I'm trying to create something or edit something, if I just type on my keys MD, it goes to modify, then it allows me to select things. Well, I need to change these walls and the length of them according to design specs. So if I want to change the length of the right wall, I have to click the wall it's attached to. You don't click the wall itself. It's kind of odd in Revit, but that's how it works. So we click this wall, and now I can edit this. I'm going to set this thing to 12 feet and hit enter. And then I'm going to click this wall, and it allows me to edit the bottom one. I'm going to select this and change it to 16 feet and hit enter. And now I have a 12-foot by 16-foot shed, so that all looks great. At this point, we need to figure out how we edit these walls and make them actually match our design specs, which, as you can see right here, are supposed to be a half-inch siding, half-inch sheathing, 2x4 studs, which is actually only 3.5 inches thick, and then interior wallboard, which is called gypsum wallboard. And let's go back into this. So if I select this wall right now, now I want to go into the properties panel. Now, let's say I accidentally close it. If it's not there for some reason, if you go into view, user interface, then you can find properties. Boom, there it is. So we need that to be there. I'm going to select that wall and I'm going to click edit type. So now I'm into the structure of the wall. I can look at all the properties here. Well, before I edit it, I want to duplicate it. So I'm going to click duplicate, and I'm going to call this one shed wall because that's the type of wall I'm making this. Now, let's click OK, and now I'm going to edit the structure. Currently, it is an 8-inch thick wall. Well, if I add up all of my design specs, I can see that 1/2 and 1/2 and 3.5 and 1/2 is not 8 inches. So I actually want them to be separate layers. So I'm going to click on this interior part here, just any one of these things, and then click insert, and that makes another one. And it looks like I need 4 of these. So I'm going to make my first one the 1/2 inch siding. So we'll go to thickness. We want this to be a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go 0.5. And I want this material, and this is the exterior side. The siding is on the exterior. So I'm going to click these 3 dots, and I want this to be clapboard siding. So if I do a search for clapboard siding, and it's not going to show up. Well, it doesn't show up unless I click these double arrows right here. And then I need to make this window a little larger, so I'm going to drag that up, and I can drag this over a little bit. And now you can see those words, clapboard siding. You can make these things, these windows, as large as you want so you can see them. And if I click the up arrow, that brings it into, there we go, there we go. Now it brings it into the project. Click it once, and now you can see it's written over here. So I'm going to click OK or apply, and then OK, either one works. You can see clapboard siding there. So I have my 1/2 inch item there. We're going to continue through. So sheathing is going to be a plywood material. So I could just search for plywood for the sheathing, and boom, there it is, plywood sheathing. Hit OK. But I need to change that to a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go 0.5. Now, sometimes if you move your mouse in the middle of it, it gets upset. So it looks like it took that one. That looks great. So I'm going to go down to the next one. Yep, it converted it into a fraction. My next one here is 2x4 studs, which are 3.5 inches in actuality. So we'll change this to 3.5 inches, and that's just wood. It's just like Douglas fir. It's just a type of wood. So I'm just going to search for wood. It doesn't really matter. I don't really want to stain wood. So let's go down here and just find something that is, yeah, there's wood. That's great. We'll use that one. So I'm going to click on that and hit OK. We just want something that's fairly close. My last item here is interior gypsum wallboard. It's a 1/2 inch. So let's make this instead of 8 inches. Of course, we want that to be 0.5 inches. And we're going to change that one to gypsum wallboard. So I'm going to just type in gyp and it finds it right away. This is that stuff that we call sheetrock, gypsum wallboard. Click on that, click OK. And now we have everything. Now, as far as the function, right now, this is all considered structure. That's not entirely accurate, but it will accept this. And so we're just going to click OK. And now our total wall thickness, you can see, is 5 inches. If you add all those up, you get 5 inches. So we're going to hit OK right here. And now that wall, I'm going to scroll in so I can see this better. This wall right here shows basic wall, shed wall, and you can see there's different layers in here where these walls are not. They're still generic. So I want all of these walls to be the same. I want them to be my shed wall. So I'm going to click this one and I'm going to hold down Control. You see this little plus icon shows on the pointer, and then you can click all of them one at a time. Now I can go over here into my properties panel and I can go down to shed wall, and now they're all set to that shed wall material. So we have all of our exterior walls done. It's kind of hard to see. It's all really thick lines. It's hard to tell there's multiple layers. So there's something we can do about that if we choose thin lines here. Now they're maybe a little easier to see those fine lines in there. We also are going to go down here and we're going to select detail level fine. Now if I zoom in even further, you can see I have my wallboard on the inside, I have my sheathing, and then I have my siding on the outside. So it does let you see all the layers if you do that. Well, the next thing we need to do is we need to create our interior wall. So I'm going to go to architecture, click wall, and then I'm going to go down to my shed wall here. I'm going to edit the shed wall and duplicate this, and we're going to call this one interior wall and hit OK. And now I have a new wall for interior wall. You don't want to edit all of your defaults. So I'm going to edit my interior wall. My interior wall is going to have gypsum wallboard on either side of the wood. So I don't need the siding right here. So I'm going to click on this one and choose delete. And now for this plywood one, I actually want a 1/2 inch of gypsum wallboard, wood, and 1/2 inch gypsum wallboard. So I'm just going to change that material and I'm going to go type in gyp. There we go. And we'll select that one. Now I have interior gypsum wallboard, wood, and gypsum wallboard. If I click OK, and then OK again, now I have an interior wall that I can create. I click architecture, and now for my interior room, again, we're setting this to wall center line, 8 foot unconnected. We're building it off the base level, level 1. So checking all my constraints, and now I can create a little interior room, and you can see it snaps into those other walls right there. You need to adjust maybe the size of your interior room to make it a size that you want that's appropriate. You can just click and drag walls. You can also use the arrow keys to move them depending on how far you're zoomed in or out. It moves them by a certain number of inches. So I'll let you play around with that, and you should be good to go with walls.